Good afternoon, everyone. It's Ali here. We'll be starting this webinar shortly. Just wait a couple minutes until people start chiming in. If you can hear me very well, and I mean very well, if there are no buffers, no delays, if you just type in the chat box to let me know it's good. And yeah, we'll get this kicked off in just a bit here. All right, so I'm getting yeses, audio, video, all good. All right. Again, just a couple more minutes till I see the attendance here is populated a little bit more. All right. So again, good afternoon to everybody who just joined in. First off, thanks for everyone for making the time to come in today. I'll be looking to. My name is Ali. For starters, usually I'm joined with Abraham, or one of our sales engineers, my good friend, but he's actually on vacation. So I'm going to be taking the lead on this, and it'll be a solo presentation today. I'll be looking to feed as much info as I can to make your time investment worthwhile, and we'll definitely try to leave some time before closing to take some questions, as the purpose of today's session is primarily focused on just getting started with mission control for those who might not be entirely familiar with this Genetec Security Center layer. Certainly a pretty valuable one at that. So, and here, if you could take a look at today's agenda, what I have in mind. As I go along, I would think if you might raise, again, some questions which you can submit in the chat box here. I'll try to get to them one by one. Sure, we'll be able to cover most of them. If anything that will be out of my scope, I'll definitely be sure to copy our engineering team for follow-ups after to make sure, again, we address everything entirely. So again, today's agenda, what is mission control? Simply put, we'll go over the core functions and key features, positioning, applications, the installation and the architecture, and we'll also highlight the new features that have been recently added to the stack. Well, before we dive into the illustration of how Mission Control works on a given Genetec Security Center instance, let's take a few minutes again to go over what it is exactly and discuss the mechanics of how it functions. So, and briefly put, Mission Control is a CDM, or short for Collaborative Decision-Making System, which is a layer that mounts any Genetec Security Center instance to significantly enhance how you look at or anticipate different threats and facilitates the incident response after qualifying the incoming data from all the sensors and security devices to pin down relevant events which need to be acknowledged by security team, whether it be a couple of individuals who take ownership of the entire process or a full-blown SOC before guiding through the appropriate response that of course adheres to standard procedure and at the same time matches compliancy requirements. A lot of aspects being juggled here. For just the start, as you can see here, we'll just say the function along 3 stages: 1, 2, 3, management of incidents from trigger to audit. Again, helps you understand and visualize the production environment as a whole, and then also helps you proactively plan and guide and improve your operational procedures entirely. I'll elaborate further on the breakdown just shortly here, but let's first try to build a picture of some of the challenges that typically face organizations today, which would essentially trigger a need for a tool such as Mission Control. Some of the challenges to overcome: tech advancements in digitalization at the forefront of big data and the rise of Internet of Things. Security systems have evolved as a result with a degree of functionality beyond just physical access, but moreover, a need to leverage the data captured from all around the production environment to increase their return on investment and in turn enable their leadership to make informed decisions. It probably translates to an overwhelming volume in a variety of sources, and of course a growing need to understand the complexity of their security landscape, which pile up, leading to inefficiencies. Another thing to mention, this would seem to put them in a constant reactive state, which lacks timely awareness, and so no room for proactivity, no grounds for decision makers to make sense of what goes on within their environment, to get a chance to optimize or improve how they choose to operate. So ultimately, this would leave most organizations in a wake of a struggle, if you will, as they try to stay compliant, while again maintaining procedure, which of course they must abide. This is the slide that I'm just showing here. Again, I just maybe put it up a little bit too early. This basically gives you a look on, again, to gather a bit of an understanding. I believe this slide right here provides a clear picture, at least I'd like to think. Say we consider the events or alarms feeding in from a multi-site or a distributed architecture, or simply a big enterprise system, which is due course would generate an immense volume of different alarms or event notifications. I like this depiction personally, as it shows the different types of alarms that can be mapped and logged into our Genetec Security Center platform. Now, going back to the stages, the 3 stages that we just laid out, to look deeper into the life cycle of how Mission Control deals with the volume of these events to facilitate and really just change the way organizations look at incident management and monitoring to action. So let's jump to the next slide here. Yeah, so as you can see here, this basically sums up the life cycle of the function. So if you want to break it down a little bit more further, we would say number 1 is data ingestion and collection. First, again, Mission Control uses its built-in rules engine that crunches thousands and thousands of different event types, which you would typically see in Security Center, for the most common basic access control, including alarms, the video, intercom, etc. So say we consider, the deployment that's, 75 to 1,000 entities, or one that maps, over 10,000 entities. These alerts are rolling constantly across the dash of an operator, similar to what we just saw on the previous slide. That would be pretty daunting, I would say, to go through or even keep up with, for that matter, let alone be able to draw any correlation or spot patterns as the system keeps feeding alerts as they occur all over your environment. So imagine a large airport, for example, to give you a little bit of a scope. So the second step after this data collection would be the automated qualification, or we can call it event correlation via the rules engine that I just mentioned. So with Mission Control, you get to filter through incoming alarms to capture only events that you would qualify as those that require response, which again overcomes the issue of alarm fatigue, since you get to cancel out many false positives. You'll get to see how the logic of how you configure Mission Control. You can achieve that by presetting triggers or SOPs, standard operating procedures. So SOPs, short for standard operating procedures. They can be, again, pre-configured in the backend to simplify or phase out the noise, essentially improves focus on essential insights before taking an operator through a step-by-step action list for more efficient collaboration, since you get to identify priorities and establish good coordination between different departments. So the third step here, call it incident monitoring and visualizations. So basically the layout of all these alarms that are triggered. Organizations today are looking to unlock benefits or value beyond just security when it comes to surveillance and physical access to protect the people or the assets, but also looking to leverage operational and intelligence layers of these sophisticated systems to funnel, again, relevant data that helps them gain the situational awareness to streamline certain workloads, increase efficiency, enable them to overall make better informed decisions that are essentially, again, data-driven. So when it comes to the monitoring process, Mission Control lets you track incidents through geolocation, dynamic-based views to help you manage the events as they unfold. With that said, even through the Plan Manager module, which supports maps, was actually previously a prerequisite before supporting Mission Control. That's no longer the case. Definitely a value add that provides much better visuals into what goes on, since using this approach, which gathers the data from all security devices, along with contextual information from related systems, and again presents everything through a dynamic map or view of your entire facility. So after, again, the visualization, you get to triggers, workflows, and SOPs, which is basically the core function of what Mission Control does. It's all through triggers, workflows, and SOPs, and we'll dive into that shortly here. But now with a good view that encompasses all the relevant data by creating a set of triggers and SOPs, which again, standard operating procedures, whether it be standard or dynamic. We'll also explain the difference in just a bit. You add this degree of automation to streamline the process of how your operators digest all these events and guide them along procedures to significantly cut the response time. Once the initial configuration is set up and complete, which is really all the legwork to begin with, you get to push out factors such as emotions, stress, fatigue, etc. And you'll be able to rely on a preset guided process that aligns with your organization's standards and compliance policy. Before we jump into the features, again, I want to make sure I clarify between triggers, SOPs, and DSOPs, or dynamic standard operating procedures. So, and again, we'll look into that, and I'll give you a look into the platform itself. The triggers essentially are an incident trigger is a sequence of rules that are applied by the correlation engine to automatically detect and produce these incidents. This engine again looks for specific combinations of events by running analysis across type, time, relation, and frequency of occurrence in the system itself in order to determine whether an incident must be triggered or not. Now, standard operating procedure, which follows basically a standard, is a series of steps that the operator must follow before changing an incident state to resolve ultimately. So each step can range from a very simple task, such as call 911, to a complex task that requires support documents for reference. So, all actions taken by the operator are logged by the system, of course, in the incident history for auditing purposes, which is an important aspect that we'll touch on later on. Procedures are often stored on printed paper or in a file system for those organizations that do not actually employ a specific tool or resource to help them with that. And the consistency with which manual procedures are performed can vary greatly depending on individual experience and attention paid by a set of individuals who's tagged as the assignee. Now, a dynamic standard operating procedure, difference is here, on the other hand, is similar, but you get a sequence which outputs based on the response provided by the operator at each step. So it's like a tree, and again, we'll look into it to give you a better understanding. It's represented by a flow chart in the config tool. This type of prompt, prompts the operator to acknowledge that each step has been completed successfully to be able to continue on to the next step. Makes it easier to keep electronic records, verify that procedures were followed correctly, and of course, it can help decrease transition times and procedural variability. Last step, again, in the life cycle of the function of mission control is, again, being able to look through these data sets to pull reports for stakeholders involved, can give the ability to draw patterns, enables continuous optimization of security operations. So one primary takeaway here is how mission control can be implemented to help organizations stay compliant without actually being a system that's hard or costly to implement, but rather a useful tool which, again, streamlines a whole lot of work for a SOC or security team. I want to maybe mention an example. I know some regulations call for 80% or 90% uptime of all the cameras, again, to be online at any given time. I believe flare monitoring is a term by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. And as opposed to counting on operators to identify faulty devices, we can have the system actually automatically display the count on a dashboard. And that's actually standard pulling reports in Genetec Security Center without the mission control piece. But again, how mission control can lean on such feature. So to summarize in a nutshell, one would be scalable data collection, automated analysis and detection. Again, a very good allowance for collaboration across different silos. Different team members can be sharing updates in real time. 3, strong situational awareness, which is the solid foundation for proactive operational planning, I would say. Guided incident management, number 4, again, eliminating factors for human error, operator fatigue, with procedures within the compliance scope. And finally, reporting and auditing, again, the ability to present incident reports in chart formats would make investigation process simpler, as you get to depict, again, the possible patterns while probing for areas or aspects of improvements or adjustments necessary. So here we have the features highlighted as we just explained, again, leveraging the mapping piece with interactive or GIS, Geo-Info System maps to enable monitoring with the location tracking of the sensor or the security device that's currently under investigation, and facilitates things through providing this visibility. Also mentioned briefly the ability to collaborate across your team through assigning tasks, creating profiles as the admin, delegating sub-incidents to increase the efficiency of handling all cases across departments, having created, again, those profiles with different authority or permission levels, if you will. You'd also have the ability to categorize incidents based on priority level, or say a group of criteria for a better pull when looking at your dash as a supervisor. All real-time updates as they take place. We can also talk about the high availability aspect of mission control. That's basically the availability of your incident history log and configurations with built-in failover and redundancy to keep all of your trigger settings and workflows intact. Again, without the risk of losing those settings, because again, that's the most legwork I would say in setting up and configuring mission control. Once that is done, basically, again, the whole purpose of it is to create that level of automation. So it's a very important piece. Before jumping on to the next slide, some of the most recently introduced features, again, not maybe listed here entirely. There's also the ability to override macro context, again, very valuable for large deployments, which allows for easier copy of configurations from one site to another. Also, our team has newly introduced keyboard shortcuts for more enabled navigation and action, all broken down, in detail in the Mission Control Admin Guide. Also, the number 3 would be the ability to automatically open any given incident in the monitoring tab. That wasn't the case before. There's also been some an added depth to the context of how you set up or qualify alarm triggers. Before we talk about how Mission Control is licensed or priced out, I know it's an important piece when it comes to having discussions with your customers. Let's briefly talk about positioning. So target market and positioning for Mission Control. To be honest, it's anybody's to work with based on the application required to support. That's why our team waived off the prerequisite of having to run a pro or an enterprise-based license before you can add Mission Control. You can actually add it to standard base systems now. Also, no need for Plan Manager. Again, that was a feature that was required before you're able to support Mission Control. Definitely makes quite the difference when you're adding the Mission Control layer onto a system where you have the entities mapped out and the illustration to come. Again, should you show why in a sense. Having said that, the value of the Mission Control module grows exponentially with the number of entities. So essentially a large scale deployment, or again, a distributed architecture that would in turn generate a huge volume of alerts. That's again being fed by your cameras, access control devices, LPRs, intercoms, whatever may have you. So the more, and I think the more value you would see from the Mission Control tool. So as of last year, the pricing and licensing of Mission Control has significantly changed. That being, it has definitely become simpler. As you can see here, we have 2 models. First, if we're talking perpetual, so we have 50K MSRP per operator license, which is basically covers the entire function of the tool. But worth noting that you would have a cap of 500 active incidents, beyond which you would need to have additional operator licenses, and again, plus the Advantage coverage per license. That's all you need to be looking at, and the port numbers are shown here. Alternatively, you can purchase the site license, which enables an unrestricted number of operators, and that's priced at 600K MSRP. And again, that's for very big customers where, again, point where you put how many operators are going to actually be using or operating a SOC, it would make sense, again, to purchase the site license rather than individual licenses in terms of the overall costs. And then number 2 is again under the subscription model. So this, as opposed to pricing under perpetual, again, gives you a monthly cost of just $500 MSRP per operator. And again, with the full-blown capabilities of Mission Control, the site license would total up to 20K MSRP monthly. So again, very simple. I'm not sure who, maybe if you looked at the previous structure, it was definitely a challenge to get quoted out. It was based on different variables and different moving parts. So again, this basically simplifies how you can, have the pricing discussion. And of course, our team is always there to support. If there are any questions or if there are any opportunities, that you need our help with, we're definitely here to help. So moving on, start looking into the mechanics and again the logic based on which the Mission Control tool actually functions. We brought up how the tool uses its tool engine again to crunch all the incoming data, proper qualification. Speaking of event triggers, workflows, procedures, I want to separate it three different things as we'll see here. So event triggers is one, workflows, and then procedures. Again, whether it be standard or static or dynamic. So let's look at this short video here as an example to show how triggers can be configured for the benefit of canceling some of that noise. So yeah, put that up here. There you go. All right. Again, this will be again inside the security center dashboard itself. Again, if you consider here an instance, let's say, of an access denied alert, you would have your conditions to fix here. Before the system triggers an alarm, it can also be triggered manually if need be. But essentially, you can maybe tie that with a motion detection event by a specific camera for the event to be again truly alarming. Rather than just a random access denied popping up. You can set the occurrence, frequency, again the different conditions again before the alarm can trigger, and hence again filtering out some of the false positives or the alarms that might not be an issue or a call for concern. As you can see here, the occurrence. You can set that here to make sure then you have it a specific criteria before an alarm is even triggered. This goes again once saved, and then only then would the system come up with a notification if it passes that qualification test that you put here under triggers. This goes to really show the value of the value of Mission Control really lies with an operator who's familiar with the environment to be able to fix reliable configs to again promptly employ the Mission Control function, and to be able to again have an awareness of what goes on in the environment, to be able to actually configure those rules or settings properly, to be able to again for proper qualification. I want to show you here the workflows and the standard operating procedures. So again, it's just another short video here. Seconds loading on me. It's unplanned downtime, but nonetheless, we'll, there we go. All right, there we have it. So this is basically again the workflow, how it looks like in the back end or during the programming stage. I'll call it. And the how it's set up. You'll see that you get to automate processes for the system to streamline some operations, following the chain of conditions that are met to proceed on to the next steps. If you can see here, from start and again to the acknowledgement. Let's say if you want to put this as the closed loop, getting more granular into it to see the degree of the dispositions that you can deploy into your standard operating procedures to have the assignee for any given task work along again a preset set of guidelines. So you can see here, this is basically the display of what a standard operating procedure look like. So it's like a flow chart. Similarly, like I said, like the workflows, but essentially here you have the chain is depending on the input of the operator after each step. So you can have a yes or no, or you can have, as you can see here, let's say includer, yes or no, again, call security. Once it's complete, then you can join it with or follow it with another step, again, based on your procedures. Again, that's basically different for each organization or for each need. But again, you get the idea. And again, looking more into it here, see here you can name the step, instructions. You can give the option again to answer yes or no. You control the flow of how the procedure and let's say folds in front of the operator, so that again there's not a lot of degrees of freedom or room for error or omission in any way. You can also set time limits or minimum time requirements to complete each task, again depending on what the tasks are. Pretty neat, I would say. I learned a lot during the certification course when we get to really dive deep into how you can configure mission control on an actual system. There's a lot you can do. Can everybody hear me okay? I think I dropped off here, and I apologize for that. I'm not really sure what happened, but diving back in, so I just want to make sure. I'm not sure if I still have audio out there. If somebody can maybe yeah, audio is back. Thank you very much. Again, sorry about that. No, not a stranger to technical difficulties. It's been 3 months straight work from home. It's definitely has its downsides. But we're back on here. Sorry, I apologize for that. I went on for a little bit, not realizing that I've lost audio. So in picking this back up again, this is just a slide again to show you the how the display of your procedure would look like. Again, it looks like a flow chart here, again, to guide operators to respond to different situations preset before the alarm even triggers. So again, decreasing the human error factor, and again, they can also be dynamic, again, to adapt accordingly, whether it's one way or the other. And again, all of that is pre-configured, as part of your initial setup for mission control. This is again briefly, just a snapshot of what your incident monitoring tab would look like in mission control. You basically have a list of all the alarms that are feeding in live as they happen in real time. You have the number of active incidents shown at the top. So basically, these are the open incidents that are currently being investigated or haven't been resolved yet, if you will. You can classify by priority level, even color code on add different icons for different event types. You can really simplifies how you can look at all the different things that are happening, and again with the mapping as well, it really makes it a whole lot easier. Again, we mentioned the reporting piece. When it comes to auditing, definitely very valuable, especially for the leadership team to help them investigate, really as a whole, how their security system or the security team is handling and dealing with everything that's happening, to work on improvements, any changes, adjustments that they need to make based on, again, the data that they pull. So again, that's standard in Genetec Security Center, a feature which many of our end users definitely put to use for, again, data funneling and tracking. And here's what it would look like as an example. We get to see a breakdown of let's say the access control related alarms. Here is a video of video not recording, camera motion, again, different types, and you get to choose which events that are important. Again, per organization, really depends on your interest in your application, I would say. And there's a lot to digest, a lot to actually elaborate on further. But I know that this is, maybe for those of you who might not be familiar with mission control at all, or if it's maybe the first time you're kind of, getting a dip in, this is just, an intro, a high level of what the tool actually is, what it does, and hopefully be, a start how you can identify opportunities or see a need where one of your, whether it be an existing Genetec end user or someone that you're engaging with that would again see a need or see value in deploying such tool, and again how it helps overall as you just mentioned. So I know that I see some questions here. Again, I want to maybe open it to the floor now, and hopefully be able to answer as many as I can for the time that we have left, and I'll be sure again to take them all down. If anything that's out of my personal scope, our engineering team, they'd definitely be more happy to get anything addressed, that if I can't do myself. So again, fire at will, and I'm going to start here with the questions that came in first. Yeah, so does the site license allow for unlimited active incidents? Yes, essentially yes, because as we said, there's a cap to 500 active incidents per operator license. So it makes sense, of course, if you have a site license, you don't have that restriction anymore. Let's see here, other questions that came in. How does Mission Control integrate with Clearance, or does it? Well, Clearance is a standalone offering. It's a standalone platform. You don't even need to have a Genetec Security Center at all. But you have the plugin for Clearance that again pulls into Genetec Security Center, and again, Mission Control is actually a layer that's added on top of your Security Center deployment. So there, I don't think they really mesh. You can certainly have both of them functioning on the same system, but Clearance is, again, for handling digital evidence and case files and whatnot. Mission Control, kind of, works a different role. But again, if I'm clear on what the question, is here, you can certainly have both already coexist on the same deployment or the same system. I hope that clears it up. If not, let me know. Some other questions here. Any wonderings? Anything that might have popped up during? I know I went through a lot and definitely pretty quick, a little bit over the place. But again, there's a lot to talk about, and you can definitely get more detailed on any of the different aspects. We certainly have discussions that probe on different corners of how you can actually deploy the Mission Control tool. So by any means, if not at the moment, if anything comes up, I definitely encourage you to check out resources on TechDoc Hubs. Again, use our channel sales team and your dedicated sales engineering team to be able to gather all the info and answer all the questions, get all the details that you want, and to help you in having those conversations. If you're talking to, again, whether it be existing Security Center users or other customers, that again could be a very good in. So I'm not seeing any. Okay, answered. I don't see any other questions coming in. So again, I know there's definitely more questions that can be asked, put to the test before. So yeah, just maybe 5 more minutes here, and if nobody has further questions for now, again, please follow up with our channel sales team and your sales engineering team, and we can definitely make any follow-ups or elaborate further on any specifics. So I'll hang around here for just a few more minutes and just make sure if any other questions come in. And if that's that, then again, I thank you everyone for taking the time. I hope that was useful. I wanted to actually remote into Security Center before the demo rather than showing you everything on a video, but I ran into some difficulties myself, so I apologize for that. But again, hope it was informative at least, and we'll see you next time.